The crystal champagne glasses clinked with false cheer as I stared at my name tag. The words, "The Disappointment," written in my stepmother Victoria's perfect calligraphy. She'd always had a talent for making cruelty look elegant. The grand ballroom of the Ritz-Carlton buzzed with Chicago's elite, my father's 60th birthday celebration drawing the city's most prominent names in finance. Looking around, I counted at least 6 Fortune 500 CEOs, 3 state senators, and enough old money to fund a small country. "Oh good, you found your seat," Victoria glided over, her Chanel suit probably worth more than my car. I thought the name tag was appropriate. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. It never did. I touched the tag, thinking of the envelope in my bag, the one that would turn this carefully orchestrated party into something very different. Very creative, Victoria. Though you missed a chance to add failed entrepreneur or family embarrassment. "Don't be dramatic, Emma," she sighed. "Everyone knows you dropped out of business school to follow your dreams or whatever. Your father's just trying to protect the family reputation." My father, Richard Sterling, stood across the room holding court with his banking peers. He hadn't acknowledged me yet, though I'd been here for 30 minutes. Typical. "The family reputation," I repeated softly. Interesting choice of words. Victoria's eyes narrowed. She'd always been good at sensing threats, like a perfectly coiffed shark in designer heels. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing," I smiled, channeling her own brand of elegant dismissal. "Just thinking about reputations. And truth." Before she could respond, my father finally deigned to notice me. "Emma, come here, show Charles your startup pitch." He could use a laugh. The men around him chuckled. Charles Peterson, CEO of Midwest Banking Group, gave me a patronizing smile. "Still playing entrepreneur, dear?" I walked over slowly, very aware of the USB drive in my pocket. The one containing proof that would wipe those smirks off their faces. "Actually, I'd love to discuss business. Particularly the kind conducted through offshore accounts." My father's smile flickered. "Emma dash. Or maybe," I continued, voice carrying just enough to draw attention, "we could talk about creative accounting? I hear Midwest Banking has some fascinating methods." Charles's face reddened. "Richard, control your daughter. Emma's just bitter about some failed investments," my father said quickly. "You know how emotional women can be about business." More chuckles, but nervously now. They'd never taken me seriously, the daughter who refused to follow the path they'd laid out. Who'd chosen to build something real instead of playing their games of financial manipulation. Victoria appeared at my father's side, perfect timing as always. "Emma darling, maybe you should get some air. All this business talk must be overwhelming." I looked at my name tag again. The disappointment. 7 years of their mockery, their dismissal, their casual cruelty, all while I built something they couldn't begin to understand. "Actually," I said, picking up a champagne glass, "I'd like to make a toast." "Emma." My father's voice held a warning note. "Don't make a scene." "A scene?" I laughed. "Like the scene you made when I left business school? Or when I refused to join your bank? Or maybe like the scene you're about to experience?" The room had grown quiet, attention shifting to our little drama. Victoria's perfect smile had developed a slight tremor. To my father, I raised my glass. "Who always taught me the importance of family reputation. Who made sure everyone knew exactly what he thought of my choices." I touched my name tag. "Who let his wife label me the disappointment at his own birthday party." "That's enough." My father stepped forward, but I wasn't finished. "But mostly," I continued, "to the last time you'll ever see me. Because after tonight, after what's about to happen, I don't think any of you will want to claim me as family." I reached into my pocket and pulled out the USB drive. "Happy birthday, Dad. I got you something special. Would you like to see it now, or should we wait for the SEC agents who are about to arrive?" The crystal glass in my father's hand trembled slightly, the first crack in his perfect facade. Victoria's smile had frozen completely, her social instincts warring with rising panic. "What are you talking about?" Charles Peterson demanded, but his voice lacked conviction. He knew. They all knew. I walked to the room's central display screen, the one meant for a celebratory slideshow of my father's illustrious career. "Let me show you what 7 years of being the disappointment looks like." "Security," Victoria called out, but I just smiled. "Already handled." Amazing what people will tell you when they think you're nobody. I connected the USB drive. Did you know your head of security has a daughter who's trying to start her own business? We had the most interesting conversation about ethics and responsibility. The screen flickered to life, displaying a complex web of financial transactions. Offshore accounts, shell companies, manipulated audits, all connected to Sterling Financial Group and its partners. When I left business school, I continued, addressing the now silent room, it wasn't because I failed. It was because I saw what real failure looked like. It looked like men in expensive suits destroying lives for profit. Emma, my father's voice had lost its authority, replaced by something close to fear. Whatever you think you've found, think. I pulled up more documents. Like the pension fund you emptied last year? The one belonging to thousands of retired teachers? Or maybe the Cancer Research Foundation whose endowment mysteriously underperformed while you bought your third yacht? Charles Peterson moved toward the exit, but I called out, I wouldn't leave just yet, Charles. The FBI is particularly interested in your role in all this. Victoria tried a different approach, her voice honey-sweet. Darling, you're obviously upset about the name tag. It was just a little joke. A joke. I turned to her. Like the jokes you made when I started my tech company? Or when you told every potential investor that I was mentally unstable and couldn't be trusted with money? I clicked through more slides, each one revealing years of carefully documented fraud. But here's the real joke. While you were all laughing at the family disappointment, I was building something you never understood. Integrity. You'll destroy this family, my father whispered. No, Dad. You did that. Every time you chose profit over ethics. Every time you mocked my choices because they didn't match your corruption. I gestured to the screen. I spent 7 years documenting everything. Every fraudulent transaction, every manipulated audit, every life destroyed by your business decisions. The room had become a tableau of shocked faces and whispered conversations. Several guests were already calling their lawyers. But why? Victoria demanded. We gave you everything. Everything. I laughed. You gave me shame, ridicule, and constant reminders that I wasn't good enough. Meanwhile, I built a cybersecurity firm specializing in financial fraud detection. Ironic, isn't it? The disappointment you mocked now works with federal agencies to catch people exactly like you. My father finally found his voice. You're bluffing. No daughter would betray her family like this. Family. I touched my name tag again. You made it very clear I wasn't family. I was just the disappointment who refused to play your games. I pulled out my phone, checking the time. The SEC and FBI should be here in about 10 minutes. I'd use that time wisely. Charles Peterson broke first, running for the door. Others followed, the elegant party dissolving into panic as Chicago's elite realized their house of cards was falling. Wait. Victoria grabbed my arm. We can fix this. Whatever you want, money, position in the company, anything. I gently removed her hand. That's the difference between us, Victoria. You think everything can be bought. I proved something else. Integrity isn't for sale. The next few minutes transformed the elegant birthday celebration into barely controlled chaos. The ballroom's crystal chandeliers witnessed Chicago's financial elite scrambling like rats from a sinking ship, their designer clothes and perfect manners forgotten in the rush to escape what was coming. My father stood rooted in place, watching his carefully constructed world crumble. Emma, he tried one last time, think about what you're doing. The people who will be affected. Like the people affected by your fraudulent investment schemes? I pulled up another document. Let's talk about the Wilson family. Remember them? The ones who lost everything in your guaranteed investment opportunity? Victoria stepped forward, desperation replacing her usual smooth confidence. Those people knew the risks. Did they? I interrupted. Like Mrs. Wilson knew the risks when she invested her husband's life insurance money? The money meant for their kids' college fund. I projected their family photo on the screen. Their daughter Sarah works as my company's lead developer now. Funny how life works out. The first sirens became audible in the distance. Several guests who had been lingering near the exits made their final break for freedom. You've been planning this, my father realized, his face ashen. All these years. 7 years, I confirmed. Every time you mocked my tech company, I was building the tools to expose you. Every time Victoria called me a failure, I was gathering evidence. Every family dinner where you paraded your corrupt friends around, I was documenting their crimes. But the name tag. Victoria's voice cracked. If you were so successful, why did you come tonight? Why let me humiliate you? I smiled, touching the offensive name tag one last time before slowly peeling it off. Because I wanted you to have one last chance to show a shred of humanity. To see if there was anything redeemable left in this family. Beneath my simple black dress, I wore a wire. The entire evening had been recorded, every dismissive comment, every admission of guilt, every desperate attempt to buy silence. The SEC doesn't just have my evidence, I continued. They have tonight's confessions. Amazing what people will say when they think they're among friends. The sirens were much closer now. Through the ballroom's windows we could see the flash of red and blue lights. How much? My father's voice was hollow. How much to make this go away? I walked to him slowly, seeing not the powerful banker but a desperate man who had lost his way long ago. That's still your answer to everything, isn't it? Money. As if throwing enough cash at a problem can make ethics disappear. Then what do you want? Victoria demanded. Justice, I said simply. For every family you destroyed. Every life you ruined. Every person who trusted you with their future and got betrayed. The ballroom doors burst open. FBI agents and SEC officials flooded in, led by a familiar face, Sarah Wilson, now a federal cybercrime investigator as well as my lead developer. Mr. Sterling, she announced formally, you and your associates are under arrest for securities fraud, money laundering, and criminal conspiracy. As they led my father away in handcuffs, he turned to me one last time. Why couldn't you just be what we wanted? Why did you have to be different? Because different isn't disappointing, Dad. Different is honest. Different builds things that help people instead of destroying them. I watched as Victoria was led away, her perfect makeup streaked with tears. Different changes the world for the better. The aftermath was spectacular. Sterling Financial Group's collapse made headlines for weeks. The investigation uncovered billions in fraud, affecting thousands of victims. But this time there was a difference. My company had already traced every transaction, every hidden account. The restitution fund we established helped rebuild lives. Mrs. Wilson got her investment back with interest. The teachers' pension fund was restored. The Cancer Research Foundation received double their lost endowment. Victoria's perfect society friends vanished as quickly as her designer wardrobe. My father's powerful connections evaporated in the face of federal indictments. The mighty Sterling name became synonymous with corruption instead of success. But that wasn't the end of the story. 6 months later, I stood in my company's headquarters, a gleaming tower downtown, built on legitimate success and genuine innovation. Sarah Wilson stood beside me as we watched the news coverage of my father's sentencing. You know, she said, when you hired me 5 years ago, I never imagined we'd end up here. I smiled, remembering the desperate college dropout who'd come looking for any job she could find. Sometimes the biggest disappointments turn into the greatest achievements. My phone buzzed, another message from Victoria's lawyer, begging for leniency. She traded her Chanel suits for a prison jumpsuit, her social calendar for visiting hours. Are you going to respond? Sarah asked. No, I said quietly. Some lessons can only be learned the hard way. I walked to my office window looking out over the city. The name tag from that last party was framed on my wall, a reminder that other people's labels don't define us. Our actions do. My company continued to grow, not through fraud or manipulation, but through innovation and integrity. We specialized in protecting the vulnerable from predators like my father. Every life we helped repair was a victory. Every fraudster we caught a validation of my choice to be different. The irony wasn't lost on me. The family disappointment had become a beacon of hope for others. The daughter they'd mocked had built something more valuable than all their stolen wealth. A legacy of justice. 1 year after the arrest, I received a letter from my father's prison. Inside was a new name tag, written in his shaky handwriting, The Proud. I sent it back with a note, keep it. I already know who I am. Because sometimes the greatest success isn't in proving others wrong, it's in proving yourself right. Sometimes the best revenge isn't in destroying your enemies, but but in building something they could never understand. A life of purpose, integrity, and real achievement. And sometimes, just sometimes, being the disappointment means you're doing exactly what you should be doing, disappointing those who deserve to be disappointed. A few years later, I received another unexpected letter, this time from a former Sterling Financial Group employee. She wrote about how my actions had inspired her to start her own ethical investment firm, helping small businesses and families build genuine wealth. I kept that letter along with hundreds of others that followed. Stories of people who'd found courage in my disappointment, who'd chosen integrity over easy profit, who'd dared to be different in a world that rewarded conformity. My company expanded into education, launching programs to teach financial literacy in communities my father had once exploited. We created scholarships for students like Sarah had been bright minds derailed by financial fraud, now given a second chance. Victoria tried to write a tell-all book from prison, painting herself as an unwitting victim of my father's schemes. The manuscript mysteriously leaked online, along with documented proof of her active participation in every fraud. Her publisher dropped the project overnight. The Sterling name disappeared from Chicago's social registers, charity boards, and financial institutions. But a new name rose in its place. My company's foundation, dedicated to fighting financial fraud and supporting its victims. One day, while giving a keynote speech at a cybersecurity conference, I spotted a familiar face in the audience. My half-brother, Thomas, Victoria's son, who'd always followed their path of privilege and pretense. After the speech, he approached me hesitantly. "Emma, I need to tell you something." We sat in my office, the name tag from that last party still framed on the wall behind us. Thomas looked different, humbler, more real without the expensive suits and practiced arrogance. "I'm starting a support group," he said quietly, "for children of white-collar criminals. To help them choose a different path." He paused, struggling with words that had clearly cost him dearly. "You showed me it was possible to be better than our parents' choices."